Thanks, Bob. I have nothing much to add to that other than that we have dealt with it. We've instituted the second tier, just as Vince Smith said, but I'll defer all the details to the personnel committee chair.
We did start having this conversation in January of this year, and we did bring to the board in August a proposal to have a second tier of employee benefits. And that second tier of employee benefits did reduce the medical to $1,000 per individual to be spent on the plan of their choice. And previously, in the late 90s, when those years were flush, the employees had both their portion and the airport's portion of the retirement paid, and so that is no longer the case. The employees are paying their portion, and the airport is paying a portion of those. Those are changes then that we instituted in August. We hired someone in August. They are under that umbrella. We continue to operate as a very small staff. We don't have a large staff, and that's one of the things that also allows us to continue to work on a long-term benefits change.
Thank you. This question was earlier also with the Lake Board, and I'll say it again, let's not kill the goose that laid the golden egg. Everybody that works for the district, they have their families to take care of, they have their employment, and retirement and health benefits are a big cost. We can all do well if we don't pump the well dry. Taxes going up in California is not going to help us. There are people leaving California, businesses that are leaving California because of high taxes and onerous regulations against businesses. People are moving to states like Arizona and Texas, and they're doing well there because of lower tax rates and business friendly. And if we drive businesses out of California, we all lose. And that's part of the pension and health benefits question. We have to take care of business and do things with common sense and stop driving business and property prices down. When a property in the valley has dropped 50% from what it was a few years ago, that affects our tax base. That has not helped us at all.
I don't have a lot to add either. I was at some of those board meetings, and I commend the board also for what they did. I would just want to say we want to spend fiscally responsibly, but at the same time, we also want to take care of our employees. We're not here to make anybody rich in retirement, but we definitely want to take care of them. If you take care of the employees, they're going to take care of you, and everybody's happy. So nothing more to add other than just spend fiscally responsibly, and I think we've taken good care of it already at this point, so it's under control.
I think we're on the right track. Many years ago, I don't know how many years ago, I heard a radio interview by the man who was the lead drafter of the Social Security Act in 1935. And he seemed absolutely bewildered that when they arbitrarily grabbed 65 out of the air, it was pretty close to the average life expectancy at the time, that it became a controlling factor of our culture. Well, if the average life expectancy was about 65 in 1935, it's a lot higher now, so there's a lot more people retiring. And the trend is to increase the normal retirement age, whatever normal means. In engineering, it means something at right angles to something else. So I think also, as a business, you have to be competitive. The compensation package has to be competitive if you're going to get employees the quality of those that we have now. So this is a really tough issue, and I think it is on the right track.
I'd also like to commend the board for being proactive in taking some action with that issue. The state of California, most of you guys know, is about $16 billion in the hole in this year's budget. A good portion of that money is directly related to benefits to state employees. 10 years ago, the state had a budget of $68 billion. From 10 years ago to today, 3 years ago, it was $115 billion. They're down, I think, $98 billion now. The problem that the state has, as was echoed here earlier, is something that's not going to be fixed in our generation. The possibility of this state filing for bankruptcy is very real. I do again commend the board, Gary and Julie and Chuck, for taking this action now to make sure that we do not fall into some kind of a problem in the future. And I would like to add something since I have a couple of seconds here. With regard to the airport budget and the expenditures at the airport, the airport about 4 or 5 years ago was within just about $100,000 of breaking even from its business income without tax funding. And there is a very real possibility that the funding will be cut in the next year or two, especially after this November election if it doesn't pass. I'm sorry, I'll try to address it in my 2-minute close.
If we could bring the microphone back to Steve, please. Once again, I will remind you, you're going to be asked to vote for 3 of these folks here. We're going to start with Steve for their final comments, and then we'll go down to Bob and come back with Chuck. Steve, please.
Okay, once again, Steve Castillo. I'd like you to elect me to the Airport District Board of Directors. I just want to recap some of the things, some of my past experience that I think I can bring to this board. I'm a professional pilot, so I know a lot about airports, a lot about airplanes, and I'm very passionate about flying. I'm passionate about community involvement. I want to serve, and I want to really get out there and teach people about aviation. Pilots like to share. So we want you guys to be part of the family and feel like part of the family. We all agree that I think we need good marketing. I would love to spearhead that for the board and go out there and speak to service clubs and any group that would like to hear me speak. I'd also like to host some forums maybe and bring people in for a little coffee klatch type evening. Anybody that's interested in coming in and learning more about the airport. Those are going to be huge things that make people understand more about what's going on in the airport. Then they can appreciate the huge viability the airport has and the benefit to the community, the economic impact, the safety impact. I was also speaking to my friend Jack Williams. I mentioned him earlier. He came up with a phrase that somebody had said once, that 1 mile of runway is an airway to the world. And that is so true. If we didn't have this airport, we wouldn't have somebody like Jay Obernolte, who moved up here, bought a house here, moved his entire business up here. So that's just one shining example. So it's a great airport. I would love to be a good steward of that airport, make sure it's always a pride and joy of Big Bear Valley and economic vitality of the community. I'd love to share all the stories with you and educate you and invite you guys out to our airfare and all the other activities that we have. We should be very fortunate. We have such a great run airport as it is right now, and we should pay big kudos to the staff that's managing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Ned?
I'm Ned Dodds. If the voters of this valley decide that my talents and experience will be useful on the board, I hope they'll vote for me. I'll ask for your votes too. I am not going to regale anybody with a repetition. I've said it all in my voter's statement in the voter's handbook that you'll get about a month before the election.
Just wanted to finish that last thing about the budget. As I said a minute ago, the airport was within about $100,000 of breaking even just from its business income. Our airport is 2 entities. It's a business and it's a county state funded airport facility. If the budget is reduced in the future, which it may very well be, there's a very real possibility that the airport, with some hard management decisions made, can reach parity with their costs simply with the income that they get from their business activity with rentals from hangars and gasoline sales, et cetera. So I think some good hard looking at some of our expensing that we do now can bring us closer to parity in the future and make the danger of the reduction in tax benefits reduced in terms of operational costs. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you for having us here. I want to tell you that I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone and give everybody a chance to get to know me. And I'm asking you to please vote for me in this upcoming election. The founders of this country produced probably the greatest document in the world. And one of the things that they did with that document was set up a system where people come and serve as citizens in a political environment for a term or two, and then go back home to do what they normally do professionally. I think it's a very healthy thing for us to renew that activity with new blood every election or two. I think that's probably one of the most healthy things that this country can do. So again, the board's been doing a wonderful job, but I think it's also healthy to turn over with new blood, new ideas every election or two. So please think about that when you go to the voting booth. Thank you.
Joe's from Boston, so he has a revolution attitude about independence and such. But in a more serious note, I look at the airport as a safety net for this whole community. When we have an emergency like a forest fire that we had in 2003, and over where I live in Fawnskin, we had it in 2007, the only reason my house is still here is because we had an airport where helicopters could come in, they could refuel, they could fill up with fire retardant, and they could go out and fight that fire, and they did so, and they saved Fawnskin, and I'm sure back in 2003, they also saved most of Big Bear from being burned down. If a person here in this room has a heart attack, the one way that it's treated is to take that person to the Big Bear Hospital, stabilize them, put them in a helicopter, and fly them down to Loma Linda or one of the large hospitals down below. Having this airport and having it maintained so it can do that is a vital ingredient to this community for public safety. I want to see this airport stay solvent. I want to see the monies spent properly, and I think for the most part we do have a great board. And they are doing that. So I'd like to be a contributor to that if possible. When it comes to the state reducing funds, I spoke about my fear about that. I would like to keep those monies set aside so we can have a contingency just in case. I'd like to see a better communication with the public, and if I'm on the board, I will write an article every month just to fill in people on what's happening and what kind of decisions are made and such. I'm very optimistic about the airport. I live out there, and that's why I call myself the Godfather, because I'm out there just about every day. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a wonderful place, and I want to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. All the way back in.
Sorry.
Thank you. Again, my name's Chuck Knight. I'm an incumbent, and I would very much appreciate being reelected. I think the job that I've contributed, the accomplishments that I brought to the table, despite those critics who have a different definition of the two words fiscal responsibility. I'd like to give my brief definition of fiscal responsibility. It's not only governing the taxpayers' money and keeping from spending it, hoarding from spending it. I think fiscal responsibility is knowing when to spend it and what to spend it on. Very controversial purchase for the airport district was a snowblower and a cat loader. Very large expenditure of $340-something thousand. There are those critics out there that would have had us not buy that and perhaps give the staff, full-time staff of 2 people who are here tonight, 2 snow shovels to clear the runway. We did have to use a local ancient, antiquated snowblower at his time frame, etc. Now we have the tools. It's capital expenditure, it's depreciable, and it was the right decision to make. We are running this airport with 2 full-time staff members who do a fantastic job. I believe we found the general manager that we were looking for when we set out to find a new general manager. And with such a small staff, you have to give them the right tools. And you're going to take some heat for spending money, but there are those who understand, I believe, that spending the money also helps it keep us down to 2 staff members full-time. Thank you.
To take a line from Bev Graves' signs, experience counts. In those first 4 years, you are learning a lot about what it is to be a board member. And once you figure that out, and what your job entails, and how to responsibly serve, another round of 4 years, you can be even more effective. One example is the idea that's been presented this evening about taking some of our monies that we have worked to save and loaning them to the school district. And although that is possibly a noble cause, we have a legal opinion from our lawyer that indicates that that is not a legal thing for us to do as a district. And so there are some things where having a background helps you to understand what needs to be done, how you can do it in the district within the parameters that are set out for you by the California codes. I would appreciate having a chance to serve everyone for another 4 years on the airport board. Again, it's Julie Smith. Thank you very much for sticking through this tonight.
On Monday, we celebrated Constitution Day. It was the 225th birthday of our Constitution anniversary, when delegates went back to the Constitutional Convention and signed the document that was sent out to be ratified, and that gave us our form of government. And I'd like to thank the candidates here for putting themselves forward to participate in that form of government, and those serving now, and the people here, all of you that have come here to listen to us. We have our ideas, and you're all participating. All of us are participating in our form of government that I love. As a close to a lifetime pilot, as far back as I could remember, I wanted to fly, and flying was in me, and I started flying when as soon as I could. And I started working when I was 5 years old, pulling weeds and mowing lawns and shining shoes back when we had shoes that you can shine. And I will work for you. I've never stopped working. I've retired, but I don't plan on stopping working. And as a taxpayer, citizen, and commercial pilot that loves all of those things, I think I'm in a good position to be your representative. And earlier we had the MWD forum. I forgot to introduce my campaign slogan, "The duck stops here." At the airport, we hope the ducks don't stop at the airport, that they stop at the lake. But something else happens to ducks at the airport, unfortunate for the ducks. But I would like to serve my community and you, and please vote for Joseph Kelly.